Welcome viewers to another edition of Spotlight, the program that highlights the working of God in the lives of His children. Today in studio, we have an illustrious personality, a former social worker, a former nurse practitioner and counselor. She's going to share with us her insights into life's journey and how God has helped her along the way. So we'd like to welcome to Spotlight, Martha Hutchinson. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a joy being here with you today.
So Martha, tell us, what was it like for you growing up in Canada?
In Canada? I'm not from Canada. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I came here when I was 18 years in 1969.
69, eh?
Yeah, and then I went back home and came back in 70. And I've been here ever since then. So I consider myself a Canadian.
I know, right? That's why I was pulling your leg about Canada. But
Yeah.
tell me, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, were you an Adventist then?
Three generations of Adventists.
Yeah.
Grew up in an Adventist family, enjoy being a Seventh-day Adventist. In the little village where we are from, Clifton, we were the only Adventists in that village, and enjoy going to the other village for church and church services of various kind. You know, it has always been a joy for me being a Seventh-day Adventist. I enjoy the Three Angels message and love being a Seventh-day Adventist. Never get tired of it.
So being the only family who are Adventists in the village, did you get any kind of teasing, or was it that people were always looking up to your family?
Yeah, we were a respectable family in that village, you know, and people look up to us. And Mother always taught us, you know, to share the word. We, harvesting gathering, we went out asking for donation and giving out literature. So I grew up being active in the church and really enjoy doing God's work from a child. 7 years old, I enjoy doing outreach and witnessing to the love of Christ to people, and helping the seniors in the community. I've always been in community service from a child in the Adventist church.
And how many children were in the family?
There were 6 girls. My parents had all girls, and we had our jobs to do, and we know our assignments, and we had our family worship. We had to do family worship. Our grandparents would not allow us to do otherwise. We had to memorize passages of scripture in the Bible. And poetry, my mother was a poet. She loved poetry and toast, and we had to memorize for 13th Sabbath. Every 13th Sabbath, I know a different poem.
Wow.
And we'll sing. We were a singing family.
Oh, were you?
Yes, we will sing and do our poetry and do our memorization. It was a part of life in the Advent family, you know, poetry and memorization. So we love that.
Of the 6 girls, you're number what?
I'm number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
And there was a gap after me, so I was like the last child of the first 3.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I have elements of a last child.
Yes, perhaps.
So, you know.
But what was it like though, being the third child?
Oh, I'm sure my sister will tell you I was spoiled, you know, getting the love, the hand-me-downs, and getting the love from my first 2. And we grew up in a big family. My grandparents on my mother's side had lots of children.
Oh, okay.
Probably over 20.
Oh, wow.
And so because we stayed on the island, all the brothers and sisters, my uncles, will support Mother, because Mother stayed to take care of her parents until death. And so we grew up together in a very loving home, self-sufficient, off the grid. You know, we grew everything for ourselves.
So you're used to this off-the-grid type of living?
Yes, I'm used to it.
Is that part of the reason why, was it like a calling or pulling back to your roots why you left the city?
I kind of think so. Once a man, twice a child, going back to my roots.
Yes.
It was easy for me to do that, because I wanted to get my hand mixed up in dirt. And I thought I was going to have chicken and sheep, but I haven't had them yet.
Do you mean where?
Where I live now.
Yes.
But maybe you never know.
Did you have chicken and sheep in
We
St.
did
Vincent?
everything. We have animals, chicken, sheep, goat, donkeys, fish, you name it, we had it. We were self-sufficient, off the grid, totally. We grew our own food, we plant our gardens, and we were a family of 6 and mother raised other children. So the foster care initiatives, we grew up that way, having other children at my home. So it wasn't hard for us coming here, helping other children, because we grew up in that 3 generations. My grandfather did that, my mom did that, and so Jeanette and Esther and Miriam, we all did that in our current life.
Yes.
So it was easy for us to do.
So was life difficult growing up in St. Vincent before 69?
I wouldn't think so. I would never say no, it wasn't difficult, because we were self-sufficient. We had what we want.
But being self-sufficient, Martha, for our viewers who don't know, it's hard work.
For me, it was a joy. Going to the garden in the morning and taking out the animals, giving them water, to take them to the water hole. We dug our own water hole. We had land. You know, we had lands. We didn't use other people's land. We had land. And the sea boundary, we had our own beach.
Oh.
So, you know, and then with our uncles and auntie in England and America and Trinidad, we were not so much in need of things because they will send for us.
Oh, okay.
And mothers believed in education. So mothers sent us to private schools.
Right.
Miriam, Janet, and Martha, all of us. In those days, you only go up to primary school, but we went on to high school. You had to pay for high school. My first sister went to prestigious high school. Janet and I, and then Kenlyn and Esther, we all went to high school. And in those days, people will say, if you go to high school, you had money. You know, people always thought maybe we did, but we never really did. But because we come from a family background that reflects that, people think we did, but we really didn't. And we live in the inheritance home. So we had a home, but it was inherited from my grandparents to my mom.
Got it.
And so all the land, again, they were inheritance land. So, you know.
So you left the Grenadines at 18 years old. Why did you feel like there was a calling somewhere out there in the universe that says, Martha, Martha?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I was always an adventurous person.
Yes.
And I wanted to see more. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. And I believe that that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to see the outer world.
Okay.
And I had an aunt in Canada, and she said, they can come. And I said, Mother, I want to go. And I came. I came on a 3 weeks holiday, and I applied to stay, and I got through to stay within a year. I did my own application. I did everything. Got a lawyer. No, I can talk for myself.
Okay.
And I did my application myself, and I got my landed status after a year.
Right.
And I believed in God. I really believed that God is there with me. I've always had a belief in God, and He will take care of me. And He has always taken care of me. I put my trust in Him because having a relationship with God, to me, was very important. And I know He can do it. And I know He can do it, and He did it.
Yes,
He did it to me.
So before you left, what sort of enterprises were you involved in, if any, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? And how did you manage? Because in those days, it was quite expensive, I'd imagine, to come to Canada.
Well, obedience. Obedience, I believed in obedience. Our parents expect children to obey, and we were all girls. And we looked to one another. So if Miriam did it right, I had to do it right, and Janet had to do it right. And we raised animals. And I had a fortunate child growing up. You know, I think it was obedience. And I don't know, one may consider myself special. If I had animals, and my animals would produce a lot. So anything you call my name on, it multiplied. So we raised animals, had grains, as I say, fish. And so I had a lot of animals.
When you say you had a lot of animals, you're not talking about the family's animals. You're talking about your own? What kind of animals?
Strange you asked me that question, because when my grandmother on my father's side died, just before she died, she died the year after I was born. And she had a little goat. And she gave my mother the goat. And she said, give this to Martha.
Oh.
So I got a little goat, and it was a blessed goat. It keep multiplying all the time, and
Yes.
it will multiply twice a year and make like 3, and it just keep multiplying phenomenally. Just keep going on and on and on.
Oh.
We will kill goat and eat. We always had animals. It just keep going on and on and on. And so we always had a lot of goat from that kid, that one kid. It was a female kid,
Yes,
I guess,
yes,
a female
yes,
goat.
yes.
And it keep going on and on and on, and we always had. We are never fortunate with sheep. The sheep never did produce as much, but the
Okay.
goat.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother had a cow, one eye.
Oh.
Patience, we call it patient. It was
Yes.
very wild.
And what
but we
did you call
tamed
the goat?
all sorts of names because there were so many.
Oh,
We
okay.
kind of run out of names.
I meant the goat kid that you got.
I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But that, you can measure love.
So I see what's going on here, Martha. Could it be that there is some intergenerational blessing where one generation is passing down to the other, some kind of bequeathment, a blessing and that seems to be lacking in today's generation in many respects. But you got a goat and the goat kept multiplying.
Yes.
And how did that figure into your coming to Canada? Did you miss them? Did you?
Well, having your own, I believe in ownership, having things for yourself. And I do believe in love. I felt love from my grandparents, from my mother, from my family. I felt that, and that seemed to help me to grow and to believe in myself, that the sky is the limit. I always believe, and that's why I went to school so much and got so many different degrees, because I believe from a child I can achieve whatever I want to do.
Okay.
So that's why I went to school and I got my education in many fields, because I believe that you can do that. And I think growing up where you learn that you can achieve whatever you want, Mother instilled that in us.
Yes.
And the love, I felt love in my family growing up. Mother loved us. We didn't get much spanking and all that kind of stuff. And I grew up believing that.
Yes.
And that, even for my son, when I celebrated his 16th birthday, I said to him, fly. Now is your time to fly. And I believe that the love and the family togetherness that I received in Union Island helped me to fly.
Yes.
And no matter where I went in the world, I have it in the back of my head. I can do all things through Christ that strengthened me.
Yes.
And
Thank
I
you.
did.
Thank you, Martha. Viewers, we're up on a break at this time. When we come back, we're going to hear more of Martha's story, but she's telling us that love and affirmation are important values to pass down to your children.
Yes.
Soon come. Welcome back, viewers. If you're just joining us, we are talking with Martha Hutchinson, and a very colorful character, a lovely lady. She's told us about her time on Union Island in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and she's going to tell us more about herself in this segment. So, Martha, you were telling us about your childhood and just before you left St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So tell us now, how did you transition from the islands to Canada?
Well, as I said, we were off the grid and self-sufficient. And it's not that we had a 9-to-5 job. We didn't have 9-to-5 job. You know, Jeanette was a teacher, Miriam was a teacher. So we had a lot of animals, goats. And the goat, the little kid my grandmother gave me, we had plenty goats. So I told my mother, I want to come to Canada. How can I get the money to come to Canada? I collected my goat, took them to St. Vincent, vet them, took them to Trinidad and sold them. 28 head of goat.
You?
I sold 28. I'd never forget that.
When you say you took them to Trinidad, you mean you send them off with somebody
With
to
a
go
boat,
and
we
sell
had a
them?
lot of ship boats from Union Island. We were self-sufficient. We had a lot of ships from Union Island that would go to St. Vincent and Trinidad.
So you went over there?
I went, yes.
And sold the goats?
I was very brave.
Wow.
I used
At
to do
18 years old.
we use the word trafficking, but not the way you use it now.
Yes, yes.
To drugs and things. But we used to take animals to St. Vincent and the veterinarian, vet them, take them to Trinidad and sell them and make money. That's how we did it.
Okay.
We sell the produce that we grow to get money.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so that's how I came to Canada. I sold some of my goats and I pay my passage and come to Canada in 1917, you know.
Yes, so you visited in 69 and you came back in 70.
Yes, yes.
So when you came back, what were some of the goals you had for yourself, Martha?
Well, Mother had already instilled in our mind education.
Yes.
I want to go back to school. I want to get education because we were in a private school, a high school, and I was still there, did not graduate. So education was really in my head. And I went back to school, an adult day school, and finished high school.
Here in Canada?
Here in Canada. I finished high school in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on to do nursing. And I was not satisfied with nursing. I went on and do.
Why weren't you satisfied?
I wanted to be educated. I always felt that I wanted more.
There was a need for...
There was a need for me to do more.
Do more, okay.
And I was single at the time, so I had the time.
Yes, yes.
I didn't have any disturbance in my brain to anybody to distract me.
Mm-hmm.
So from nursing, I went and do public health, sanitation engineering at Ryerson.
Oh, did you?
I did. I'm a health inspector certified in Ontario.
Yes, wow, awesome.
Worked in Sault Ste. Marie as a health inspector.
Oh, did you?
That's how I got the accident, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted my family to see how beautiful the Sault is. It reminds me of the islands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the accident happened, so they didn't really get to see it. You know?
Oh, wow.
So I came up here and I did public health at Ryerson. And after that, many years, God blessed me with a son.
So during this time though, while you were studying, were you active in church?
I've always been active in church.
Yes.
I've always been very active in church, doing superintendent, teaching primary and juniors, pathfinders. I was at East Toronto Church. Those days, you have a lot of immigrants coming in from different islands, the Philippines, and you know. So I was involved. That was my life. That's all we knew. You know, and I've always had a relationship with God. I knew in a childish way that God forgives. One of my first seminars that I designed was forgiveness because I knew God forgive. And I knew that doing wrong is something I'll always do. And God forgives. So in not a presumptuous way, because as human beings, we'll always do wrong things. But we need to have the confidence that our Father, God, will forgive us if we know how to come to Him. And I think as a child growing up with my mother,
yes,
and know how to get my way with my mother, I know God forgives. If I come to Him in a nice way, He will forgive you.
Okay.
I felt that way from my parents growing up, that if you come in a nice way, they will forgive you. Yeah. And I've learned that. And if I go to God, I really do, you know, I really do. If you go to God, that's His job, to forgive.
And His promise.
Yes. And human beings need to know that. Yeah. Never think you have gone too far. He will forgive. I knew that from a child, that God will forgive me. Not presumptuously. I don't go to do wrong thing to get forgiveness. But I knew if I did it wrong, go to Him, beg Him, He will forgive it. And
And the issue of forgiveness, Martha, is something that we talk about a lot in church, but we don't really practice it the way that the Father practices it. And even with each other, you know, it seems that forgiveness is a bit lacking in our relationships at home and at church and elsewhere.
I think it's lacking because the love is not there. Love motivates you to say, I'm sorry. If you truly understand that, I think people need to do more seminars on love. Because if I really love you, I will come to say, I am so sorry, Edson. Please forgive me. And if you don't know how to love, you can't say that. You can't do it. Even though you may know how important it is to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. You have to have a love in your heart that motivates you to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
And like the Father forgives us even before we come to Him, we should forgive each other even without the person coming to say, I'm sorry.
It's
we
crucial.
should be at that point.
It's very crucial.
Yes.
It's a knowledge base you have to know. If we talk about God, and if you have a relationship with God, your knowledge of forgiving me is significant for Him to forgive you. And we have to understand that. In order for you and I to inherit eternal life, it's done through forgiveness.
Yes.
We've forgiven each other because it is a must that you will do me wrong or I will do you wrong. That's what human is. Learning to say, I'm sorry. We need to teach each other that. Not everybody knows how to do that.
Yes.
And there's some people will go to their grave without saying, I'm sorry.
So I'm aware, Martha, that you've been to, in fact, you've given many seminars, both locally and internationally, on forgiveness. What are some of the main and underlying issues you find why people are so hard to forgive themselves and forgive each other?
I still believe is love. The way you were raised, parents, we grew up in a culture where parents don't know how to say, I love you, or to even give you a hug. They're always spanking or saying some mean, foolish thing, you know, because I have socialized with intelligent, educated, sophisticated people who hates a lot.
Oh.
I remember speaking to a conference president who put his fist on the thing and said, I'll never forgive. I was so shocked.
Yes.
People who you think has a good understanding, they have a good understanding of the importance of forgiveness, and they refuse to forgive.
So there may be some underlying issues there, maybe from the childhood, that haven't been addressed.
Yes, there's emotion. People learn to hate.
Yes.
These are behaviors that you learn. Right at home, family values, children learn to hate and learn to love. Right in the house from parents and growing up. And if I've always said, if you meet a child in the house, hate a mother or father or a sister, hating you is a piece of cake. It's easy for them to hate you. If you can hate your mother or hate your brother, and you meet a stranger, it's easy for you to hate your neighbor and your stranger or your member in the church if you hate your parents or the person in your significant other group.
It's a learned and practiced behavior.
Yes.
Yes.
So we need to learn how to teach children. And I did my own research on that. I thought a lot of people say, oh, Martha, they know me and remember me. I said to myself, I'm going to practice to be nice. I told myself, I'm coming to Canada, I'm going to practice to be nice. And people like nice people.
Yes. Yes.
And so I try to be nice to people.
Yes.
And everywhere I go, people remember me. And people say, oh, Martha's a nice lady. You know, I like her. Because I told myself I want to be nice.
So you're saying it begins with
yourself.
Yes, a conscious and determined effort.
The word
the
word I use is intentional.
Intentional.
Intentional. You have to be intentional. Before you leave home, you must say something to yourself that I am going to do this as I go out.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that. And then do it. And people around you will see that It's like the coronavirus. It's shedding. It does shedding, eh? The coronavirus does shedding.
Yes,
you can intentionally share joy and laughter, even in your smiles. You can choose to smile. You can choose to frown.
But Martha, as a social worker, you've witnessed and counseled with people who are going through very difficult circumstances, whether they're in the church or not. Difficult circumstances. How does a person smile through that? How does a person overlook, if that's what they need to do, the difficulties that they're going through? Talk to the audience. Tell them, somebody's listening to you right now who is going through a difficult time, and you're saying that they can smile, they can still get past that. Talk to them. Tell them how.
Well, in the social worker perspective, there's always two sides to the story. A story always have two sides, right? And there's the love and there's the hate. And people can choose to love and hate. And in my presence, when I'm counseling people, and they're so upset and they're so angry, I change the subject. Change the subject into something laughter. And again, there are those who say I have a funny side, where I'll always make you laugh. So in laughing, I let them see, again, you can be intentional. You can hold on to the hate. You can hold on to the rough experience, but you can let it go. You can let it go and build and grow, because life is a journey and we all have to embrace our journey, own our journey, and choose the hate or the love. It's always a choice. And that choice has always been given to us by God. And we have to embrace it. And we have to choose to let go hate. We have to choose to keep love. And it always will win. With your children, with your co-workers, with your colleagues, with your neighbors. Practice love and you would win. You really would. And I want to encourage everyone to choose love.
Viewers, we're out of time for today's segment, and we haven't even scratched the iceberg as far as Martha is concerned. So we are going to have a part 2 to this discussion, because she has so much more to share and we want to hear from her. We thank you for joining us, and I thank you, Martha, for consenting to join us in studio today. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Until next time, viewers, be kind, be loving, and walk good.